So we have to assume that in your primary trade area, you would have no major competition within 10 to 15 miles of you, at least, unless you're in a metro. And then these strategies are different, but the concepts are the same. Like that 20,000 benchmark, you need to be able to pull at least that many people to go pay a lease in Wichita or Kansas City for a year or 2 or 3, whatever you have to sign it for. Be smart. Be smart and do the math. So we look at our potential customers. You know, they say gaming interest varies, but for video games, you can think like 60% of U.S. adults have some gaming system in their house that's a console. But for stores that emphasize like tabletop board games, card games, we were that before we moved into video games. We didn't capture those metrics. We didn't have quite that draw. Video games actually increases our board game sales because it brings more people to us that we wouldn't have the gravitas to pull in based on our location and selection. But by having a smart selection that doesn't have a competition map, GameStop actually closed in our town when we started video games. We waited politely for them. And then we don't have competition for a video game store, especially at scale, a video game store with more games than us. Our selection's pretty big, and that's actually, we try to be a destination location by the variety of selection and the unique selection that we can have. So I take pride in having more video games than anybody else. I think you could go an hour and not have a video game store with more of us. I think Wichita has one. Wichita has one. I'm not sure if you want to drive a shorter distance than Wichita that you have a better selection than Sculpting Games. And that's the kind of competition map we constantly do to not only make sure our location is viable, but to make sure our product selection is viable. And some of the best marketing you can do is in your own doors with selection that is appropriately competition mapped to draw people to you because you have the best variety. We're not a Pop Funko store, right? But I've actually acquired like 300 Pop Funko, and I started small, and you know, we acquire more, and that's not a ton, but we have people that come to us for it because we have the best competition within their acceptable driving distance for a hobby. So they might, you know, if they go to Colorado on vacation, they might go hit a GameStop and look for an exclusive Pop Funko or wherever sells them, or another store like ours. They might do that, but for their, you know, their regular once a month hobby trip, they're going to pick us because we're the closest. And if I can capture a selection that makes that more interesting, maybe it goes from once a month to twice a month. And my potential customer spend increases because we create an environment that's fun, that's interesting to be at, that has a gravitas pool worth the drive. That's the whole point of what we select inside our store. Even if I don't sell through all those different video games in a month, in a year, having so many and having a browsable selection that can't be matched for miles is important. And when I say we don't want to be the McDonald's of Pokemon, we try to have a selection and variety in singles, in packs, in booster boxes, in elite trainers, in box sets, and having not just one set available, but I think in our pack rack, I think we honestly have over 20 different Pokemon sets, and that will make people have fun, have an interesting trip. So they will drive to Great Bend from, you know, maybe out here, or as they're coming through to visit grandma, they always make the 10-mile diversion to hit Great Bend and stop at Sculpting Games because it's one of the coolest experiences they can get. You can become a destination location and increase your driving distance acceptability for people if you stock well, basing your selections on competition map. So our recent data shows that, you know, like 25 to 29, maybe 30% of people are, they play or collect tabletop games. But not all those are customers, right? Like one dungeon master spends $300 on Dungeons and Dragons and then runs a campaign where 6 of their friends play for free, except for a $4 miniature that they paint and call their character, and they're very proud of. $4. Put it on the board, move me around, DM. You're the one spending money. I'm in here enjoying it. I'll bring the snacks. And they'll happen at their house, right? Like, you can't expect everyone that plays tabletop games to purchase tabletop games. And then to purchase it not online, not on clearance at Barnes & Noble, but at a hobby store with knowledgeable staff. That goes, you know, further down the bell curve, but you need enough people in your original 20,000 people where you're the closest store until you get to your customers, your regular customers, and your unicorn customers that spend the most. You've got to be able to start with a large enough number before you get to the customers who will be most rewarding to you in a relationship where it's mutually beneficial, that your business gives them positive things in their life, which is what you want to do, right? It is about feelings in a way. We want to positively impact our community. We want people to create friendships. We want people to feel comfortable. Those are important things. Caitlin Clark is going to work to impact the world in positive ways and not just be cold-hearted killer, stone cold killer instinct on the court. But she's got to be able to flip the script every once in a while. While we want those positive things, you've got to protect the numbers. You've got to be able to, put the arm bar up, get in the weight room and make sure your core muscles are strong enough to take the impacts. Those are important things. If you want to run a business for a decade, you constantly competition map and you build selection off that. So when we look at our local demographics, we've got 40,000 people, maybe 29% of those play a board game. So that might give us 11,000, 12,000 potential customers. Let's say 70% of the people in the population are adults. So that gives us 28,000, times 60% of those being video gamers. Then we're at 16,000. Broader appeal if we're stocking video games, but sticking to tabletop, maybe 12,000. And then we look at that per capita benchmark. Can I build enough positive relationships with the potential 10 to 12,000 gamers that MindSculpt Games can do positive things? Can I get the people that visit from New York to increase my per capita pool because we become a tourist location? Not that people come visit MindSculpt Games from New York, but that they make sure they visit MindSculpt Games while they're visiting Grandma in Great Bend. Can we catch that highway traffic? The highway is so important to us. And being able to be visible when people are going through town for business or going through town to visit Grandma, super important to us, is one of those things that we need to be able to do. So when we look at that, you can use tools like Google Maps or Travel Time. You can plot it. Like you can say there's a store here, there's a store there, there's 5 stores here. Wichita has 8 stores. There's a new Poke store that just opened up. There's a lot of competition there. But in my map, am I the closest store to at least 20,000 people? That's the minimum. But if you can do better, great. And if somebody encroaches your territory after you're in year 3, you're in a dogfight. You're in a dogfight and you win it, or your business might be out because splitting customers below that 20,000 mark can cannibalize both of you, or maybe just one of you while the other buys your inventory at the end. But be smart about competition map, because if you can't make that 20K, you're not playing a video game. There's no reset button. Some of the loans you can get from the government to start a business are unforgivable. You can't even get rid of them in bankruptcy. So you've got to choose very carefully. Are you in the right spot on the competition map? Do you have enough potential customers? Population's one thing. English speakers is another thing. Interested gamers is another thing. People with expendable income is another thing. And then if there's loyalty questions like, am I going to this store or this store or this store? I can drive, within 20 minutes to all of them. You got to be even better at your competition, and that gets harder. So you can just take a regular map and plot it out. You can use Grok or ChatGPT to figure out how many stores are selling Pokemon. And you're like, oh yeah, Dollar General does do that. GameStop does that. Walmart does that. Barnes & Noble does that. Target does that. And then you're like, whew, if I can't get more than 2 cases of Pokemon from allocation, how am I going to even make over $1,000 on Pokemon sealed product in a month? Map the competition. So you also want to factor in income. Like you can establish or research a medium income. So medium household income in Great Bend is $52,000. So like $20 to $50 games, they sell really well in our store. If I were trying to sell people Lexuses, I'd have to cut down majorly on how many people can afford that. Like a $300 board game that has 200 miniatures inside of it, we sell a lot less of those. It's a niche market, right? So it gets harder and harder to find it. And we do always have to fight, people not shopping local, going to Wichita instead, or pulling out Amazon and ordering every Christmas present there. If we can't count on 60 to 70% of our people in our nexus to be potentially interested in us and think about us, then if we're losing, our 12,000 customers, if 50% of them are shopping on Amazon and not us because we don't have enough interesting things because our store experience stinks, like literally stinks, and then there's trash on the floor and it's not vacuumed, and our staff plays video games all the time and doesn't look you in the eye, you're gonna lose, right? So you not only need the physical people, but then you need to have a store experience that's interesting enough to make retail shopping in person worthwhile. So those are all important, and you want to be able to grow in marketing, but you might not be in a town that grows a lot. You might be in an area that grows a lot, and then you're probably going to face competition sooner. But look at your data, look at your census data, look at your competition map, think about what you have, and try to be really smart. This is the most important math activity, the most important geography activity that you can do as a business owner. Don't skip it.